Okay, one of the neat things about being able to connect equations to slopes is that you're able to go backwards. Up until this point, we have given you an equation such as y equals 3/8 x plus 4, and you've been able to give us the slope and a point. For the next part, we are going to show you how to take that and go backwards. So let's make sure you can do that. Y equals -5/7, x minus 3, slope, well, it's right in front of the x, so m equals a -5/7, and a nice little point, 0, -3. So if I were to say, okay, the slope is 2/3, and it goes through this point right here, you could probably make up the equation fairly easily. You're like, yeah, I could do that. Well, I know it's going to be y equals, and then the 2/3 is going to be right in front of the x, and then there's the y-intercept, so I stick it right there. That's it. You have just made an equation in slope-intercept form. Let's do another one like that. Slope is a -5/8, and it goes through the point 0, -pi/7. You may not like it, but I bet you can do it. You can go, well, y equals a -5/8 x, okay, because that's where the slope goes. Y equals mx plus whatever the y-intercept is. Oh, that's a negative up there. -pi/7. There you go. There's your answer. Notice it is in slope-intercept form. Okay, let's try another one. I give you the slope of 4/11. And instead of giving you the intercept, I'm going to give you a different one. I'm going to give you the point 11/1. Now you write the equation. Well, if you use y equals mx plus b, kind of nice. 4/11 x. We don't know what the b is, but we can find out really quick. We know that 11 going in right there and 1 going in right there have to make this thing true. That's what it means to have that point on this line. It makes it true. So 1 equals 4/11 times 11 plus 1 has to be, plus b have to be true. So that's how we can find out what the y-intercept is. So in this case, subtract 4 and we get -3 equals b. So that means it actually goes through the point 0, -3, and you're like, oh, now I can write it really easily. Y equals 4/11 x, and there's my y-intercept.
Now the summary of the process and some examples.
This developmental process right here is just a simple 4-step process that will help you find the equation of any line given any scenario. Step number 1 is to find m. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to do this one at a time, come back and forth and look at this process. Our first problem up here says find the equation of the line containing the point 2, 5 and having the slope where m equals 5. Well, you're lucky because m has been given to you in this problem. So step number 1, m equals 5. You don't have any work that you need to do. Step number 2 in our 4-step process here. Plug m, x, and y into y equals mx plus b. Now let's think about this. Let's come back over this problem. What is x? What do we have up here that constitutes an x? That's right, we have an ordered pair where we've been given a point on this line. And so this is x and this is y. So we're being told to plug m, which equals 5, x, which equals 2, and y, which equals 5, into the equation y equals mx plus b. So where there's a y, we will put the number 5. Where there's an m, we put the number 5, because m equals 5. And where there's an x, we will put the number 2. And now we are left with the lone variable b. So our next step here, solve for b, makes sense. we've got one variable left to solve for. Coming back over here. 5 equals, 5 times 2 is 10 plus b. Remember our three-step process to solving. We don't have fractions. We do have a parentheses here. We distribute it. 5 times 2 made 10. If we had like terms, we would combine them. We don't. We have found simplicity, and we now ask who is sharing sides with b. 10 is sharing sides with b. It's being added, so we are going to subtract 10, and what we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other. 5 minus 10. Good job, -5. Always proud of you guys when you get your negative numbers right. These cancel, and we're left with b. So b equals -5. We have just completed step 3 in our 4 steps here to finding the equation of a line. Now, step 4 is simply a formality. We really have all the information we need. We now need to plug it into the equation. So step number 4, if you're all right, I'm going to put that right here. The equation y equals mx plus b. Y stays. Y represents every y coordinate on the line. M is 5. That's already been given to us. So we have 5. X is also part of the equation. It represents every x coordinate on this line. But b, we have just discovered, and remember, b is what? That's right, b is our y-intercept. So b is -5. And there is our equation of the line containing the point 25, and with the slope of 5, y equals 5x minus 5. Good job. Now that we have practiced a problem using the 4 steps to find the equation of a line, we're ready to tackle a problem that is slightly more complex. Remember, step number 1 is to find m. And so, do we have m given to us? We don't, but we do have 2 points. And we know our tool to finding the slope when given 2 points is the tool m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now I want you to remember that it is so important to label these x and y and x and y. It doesn't matter which one is your first point. It just matters that you pick one as your first point and one as your second point. So we'll go ahead and say this is our first value of x and y and our second value of x and y. This step here of having you label these will help you stay very organized and place the correct numbers in this formula correctly. So, what's y2? That's right, it is 3. Minus, part of the formula, what is y1? Very good, it is 1. Over, what is x2? It is 2. Minus, part of the formula, what is x1? -6. Okay. Very good. Now, 3 minus 1 is 2. Over 2 minus a -6. Minus a negative becomes a plus. Excellent. So this is, in essence, 2 plus 6, which is 8. Do we leave this fraction as 2/8? That's right. We do not leave that as 2/8. We always reduce our fractions. 2/8 equals 1/4. That's good. Okay, so we have discovered our slope. Our slope is 1/4. Now, step number 2 says that we are going to plug x, y, and m into y equals mx plus b. We have 2 values of x, here and here, and 2 values of y. So which one do we use? Well, it doesn't matter. We can pick either one. It's up to you. So let's pick the first value there. We have x equals -6, y equals +1, and m equals, we just discovered m equals 1/4. And we're going to plug these into the equation y equals mx plus b. Y is 1, m is 1/4, x is negative 6, and then we are adding b. So we now have an equation where b is our lone variable, and our step 3 is to solve for b. To solve for b. Let's go ahead and write this step 3 up here. And we have 1 equals 1/4 times negative 6 plus b. If you remember, in our 3-step process to solving, we like to get rid of fractions. We could work with this fraction if we chose to, but our step is to get rid of fractions. So we need to multiply everything by the LCD. Our LCD, well, what is it? It's the only d. It's the only denominator we have. It is 4. So the LCD equals 4. So we're going to multiply this side times the LCD, and we're going to multiply this side by the LCD. So we have 4 times 1/4, which is already times negative 6. So that constitutes one term right now. And we have plus 4 times b. So 4 times 1, 4. These 4s can cancel out. That's why it's called get rid of fractions. We're left with 1 times negative 6 is just negative 6. And then we have plus 4b. Who is sharing sides with b? Yeah, we don't have any parentheses. We don't have any like terms. All of our b's are on one side. So we are going to add 6 to each side. 4 and 6 make 10. These cancel. 10 equals 4b. 4 is sharing sides with b. It's being multiplied. We are going to divide. Very good. These cancel. And we are left with 10 over 4 equals b. Now again, the number one rule of fractions, when we get done with a problem, we are to reduce. Very good. Reduce this fraction. 10/4. Okay, what are both these divisible by? They're both divisible by 2. So this is the same as 2 times 5 over 2 times 2. It would equal b. These 2's would cancel. And ultimately, 5 over 2 equals b. Our final step, step 4, we are to take the equation y equals mx plus b and plug in our discovered values of m and b. And so we have y equals, m is 1/4. Good. And what was b? 5 over 2. So we have plus 5 over 2. Good job.
To the boards! Hello and welcome back to the boards. Believe it or not, this is our last time getting to work together at the boards in this class. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I wish you luck in all of your future studies and life adventures. Now let's get to these last problems here. We've been learning how to write equations in y equals mx plus b. To do these, step number 1, you're going to want to find the slope and plug it in for the m value. Then in step number 2, you're going to plug the point in for the x and the y inside the equation. You'll then solve for b and then rewrite the problem with the new m and the new b that you have found. So go ahead and pause the video and try these 3 questions. When you're ready to check your answers, unpause the video and we'll see how you did. Okay, here we go. Write the equation of a line that has a slope of 2 and goes through the point -4, 3. So I'm going to go ahead and in step number 1, they say find the slope and plug it in for m. Now they told me m equals 2, so I'm going to write y equals mx plus b, but instead of m, I'm going to do 2x plus b. Okay, great. That's step number 1. Plug the slope in for m. Step number 2, now replace the x and the y with my point. So this is my x and this is my y. So y is 3 and my x is -4 plus b. I now need to solve for b. So let's go ahead and multiply these together. 2 times -4, that's 3 equals -8 plus b. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. And when I do that, I get 11 equals b. Now my last step, step number 4, is to rewrite the equation with the new m and the new b. So I'm going to write y equals mx plus b, but my new m was 2, and my new b was 11. Y equals 2x plus 11. That has a slope of 2 and goes through the net point -4, 3. Excellent. Next question. Step number 1, plug slope in for m. So I'm going to go y equals -2/3 x plus b, because this was my m. Now, my 6 is the x, and -1 is the y. I'm going to plug those into the equation. It's -1 equals -2/3 times 6 plus b. Ooh, -2/3 times 6 is going to come out to be -4 plus b. And now I'm going to add 4 to both sides. -1 plus 4 is +3. And so my final equation is y equals -2/3 x plus 3. Because that was the new b that I found. Okay, question number 3. Again, we're going to start with y equals mx plus b, but I'm not going to write the m. I need to plug the slope in for m. So y equals -3/4 x plus b. Good. My next step is to take the x and the y, and plug it in. So the y is -2, and the x is -5. Good. Now we need to solve for b, get b by itself. Let's multiply these out. I get -2 equals 15/4 plus b. I gotta get b by itself, so I'm going to minus 15/4 to both sides. Ooh, what is -2 minus 15/4? I'd have to get a common denominator here, so I'd multiply this by 4/4. So it's -8/4 minus 15/4, which would come out to be -23/4. That's my b value. -23/4. That's an ugly fraction. So now we rewrite the equation. Y equals my slope, -3/4 x, and my y-intercept, -23/4. And that right there is our final answer. And so we rewrote the equation with the new m and the new b. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for the hard work you've done in this class. I just want to share my testimony with you that we are children of a loving Heavenly Father, and I know that when you work hard, like you've done in this class, and you're obedient to the laws of the gospel, you will be greatly blessed. Again, thanks so much for working with me in this class and going to the boards. Good luck in all your future adventures and life studies.
And now we'll look at how to write equations in standard form. Again, this is an optional section, not necessary for everyone, but for those of you who are interested, feel free to use it. Standard form looks like this. And the slope was the opposite of the first over the second one. Let's do a few to make sure you remember how that works. So if I have 3x plus 7y equals 10. You remember how to get the slope? Slope would be the opposite of 3 over 7. That's our shortcut. 5x plus 11y equals 9. Slope would be the opposite of this guy over that guy. 4x minus 3y equals 12. Remember, we're going to do the opposite of 4 over negative 3. So the opposite of 4 over negative 3, negatives cancel and you have a positive. 7x minus 2y equals 9. Slope would equal the opposite of 7 over negative 2, so we're going to get 7 over 2. So if we want to go backwards, we're going to do the same thing. Here we have a slope of 4/11. So we know it's going to look like 4x minus 11y. And now we just have to make sure and stick this point in correctly to find out what number's over here. So we stick 11 in right there, and a 1 in right there, and we have 4 times 11 is 44 minus 11 times 1. 44 minus 11, 33. That was slick, wasn't it? Show you how it works here. Slope of 5/7 means we're going to have 5x minus 7y. That's that shortcut going backwards, equals. Stick in 2. Stick in 4. We get 5 times 2 is 10. Minus 7 times 4 is 28. 10 minus 28? Negative 18. Now, you'll notice we ended up with the exact same answer with a lot less steps. Some of you may find that very valuable. Others of you may like to do it, just say, no, I'm going to do slope-intercept, just let me use it. But that's why we taught you both of them. So, slope-intercept does this. You're going to write y equals negative 3/10 x plus b, and we have to use this clue to find out b. So we stick a 4 in here, negative 3/10 times a negative 2 plus a b. That's 4 equals 6/10, which is 3/5, plus b. Subtract 3/5 over. 20/5 minus 3/5 is 17/5. So the end result is y equals negative 3/10 x plus 17/5. That's slope-intercept. Standard form, you would have to times through by 10 and then get all the x's and y's over to one side. If we did standard form, we know that this slope goes with a 3x plus a 10y, because this is negative. So it's just 3 goes here and 10 goes here. And we stick negative 2 in here. That's negative 6 plus 40 is a negative 34. So this is standard form. Now, you can change these back and forth between each other. If you got rid of all the fractions and got the x over to this side, it will turn into that one. If you took this and solved for y, divide by 10, minus 34 divided by 10. I think that's a fraction that simplifies. About 17/5. You'll notice these two are exactly, oh, what did I do wrong there? Negative 3/10. Oh, this was a negative 6 plus a 40. I apologize. So that's negative 6, that's a positive 34. So positive, positive. There we go, much better. You'll see that those two match up. The answers will sometimes ask you to put it in slope-intercept or in standard form. Remember, horizontal, if you have a slope of 0, it's going to be a y equals. If it's vertical, which is an undefined slope, then it's going to be an x equals. There's not going to be a y in it at all. Good luck with that.